Deep beneath Alaska's frozen frontier, a colossal secret is rumored to lie, shrouded in perpetual darkness and silence, untouched for millennia. They call it the Black Pyramid, a monolithic structure hidden in the earth, said to dwarf Egypt's greatest pyramid in size. For decades, whispers of this buried colossus quietly echoed in hushed secrecy, from private military briefings to late-night radio chatter. Its modern legend ignited one day in 1992, when distant tremors from a Chinese nuclear test unveiled a strange signal under Alaska. Seismic waves rippled through the Earth's crust, and some claim they revealed the faint outline of something impossible beneath the tundra. A local evening newscast reported a colossal underground pyramid in Alaska's interior, only to see the story vanish without a trace. Within hours, phone calls were made and records wiped. Those who witnessed the broadcast were left utterly doubting their own eyes. Now, 3 decades later, this suppressed story refuses to die, an unsettling enigma at the edge of the world's last frontier. Brace yourself for a journey into the heart of Alaska's greatest unsolved mystery, the haunting tale of the Black Pyramid. Alaska's interior is a vast, untamed wilderness. Mountains, forests, and ice stretching beyond horizons, covering an area larger than many nations. At its heart towers Denali, North America's tallest peak, watching over a vast expanse where secrets can hide without a trace. This region lies within the infamous Alaska Triangle, notorious for eerie lights, inexplicable vanishings, and planes that disappear into thin air. Even in native Alaskan lore, whispers persist of ancient beings and cities buried beneath the ice, stories passed down through generations. In 1989, at Fort Richardson, an Army officer scanning a Denali National Park map found a baffling label, "Not surveyed to date." It marked a mysterious blank zone at a time when satellites had mapped nearly every mile of this planet's surface. That unsurveyed patch lay eerily close to where rumors would later place the buried pyramid, a coincidence too large to ignore. Strategically, this remote region was a silent crossroads of the world, exactly equidistant to major cities across the northern hemisphere. Military planners knew its value. During the Cold War, Alaska bristled with radar stations and secrets hidden behind locked gates and tundra. HAARP, an ionospheric research station, fueled speculation about secret experiments in Alaska's wild, fertile soil for conspiracies to take root. In such isolated terrain, something enormous could be built or hidden, with almost no chance of prying eyes stumbling upon it. This is the stage for our mystery, an unforgiving land where fact and folklore blur, and a buried pyramid could remain hidden. Late May 1992. At 10:49 p.m. local time, China detonated a powerful underground nuclear device. The test occurred at the Lop Nur site in Xinjiang province, a vast, remote desert military complex. The explosion's yield was immense, estimated between 660 kilotons and 1.1 megatons of subterranean nuclear force. Shockwaves rippled outward from Lop Nur, racing through Earth's crust at seismic velocities, deep into tectonic layers. Roughly 5 minutes later, seismic stations across Alaska sprang to life. Sensors triggered without warning. Needles twitched violently. Seismograph paper flared with jagged lines. Digital monitors lit up with erratic, sharp seismic spikes. Readings came from Fairbanks, Anchorage, and Denali National Park, each recording indicating an intense seismic event. But something was off. These weren't ordinary waveforms. Scientists detected strange anomalies buried in the data stream. At the University of Alaska and Fort Richardson, researchers leaned over CRT monitors and analog strip charts. They expected clean P waves and S waves, standard seismic signatures of a known nuclear detonation. Instead, they found distorted, delayed reflections, signals bent in ways inconsistent with normal geological behavior. One echo stood out, a concentrated reflection, deep underground, near Denali. The signal didn't behave like it hit magma, granite, or sediment. It returned crisp, sharp, and angular. Later, estimates claimed the anomaly spanned 150 meters high and around 300 meters wide, enormous in scale. If accurate, that made it even larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Stranger still, the energy bounced at unnatural angles, unlike anything seen in domes, caves, or fractured rock. Some analysts whispered what others dared not. The wave had struck something artificial, a structure, not something natural. One technician ran the data through early waveform imaging software, basic and slow, but capable of rough modeling. The output was grainy, flickering, but clear enough. A symmetrical shape, 4 clean sides, a rising apex. It looked like a pyramid, not a desert relic, but buried in frost, entombed beneath Alaskan permafrost. Within days of China's nuclear test, a strange news segment aired quietly on Alaskan evening television. Viewers tuned in to Channel 13, Anchorage's NBC affiliate, KTUU, and witnessed something extraordinary. According to later testimony, the segment lasted under 2 minutes, brief but unforgettable in its implications. The report described a seismic anomaly detected deep underground near Denali. Early interpretations suggested a possible man-made structure buried beneath the tundra, hidden from maps and memory. Unnamed sources described the object as geometric, symmetrical, artificial in shape, possibly a pyramid. The anchor reported that federal agencies had flagged the anomaly, and it might rival Giza's Great Pyramid. On screen, a digital terrain map appeared, marked with a glowing red triangle northwest of Denali's vast silhouette. That triangle pointed to an area about 80 kilometers away, near the old unsurveyed zone, long forgotten. The segment aired between 5:30 and 6 p.m. during local programming, then abruptly ended without explanation. Watching from Fort Richardson that night was U.S. Army Captain Doug Muchler, a counterintelligence officer on active duty. In later interviews, Muchler recalled how the broadcast struck him, not just in content, but in tone. The delivery was flat and clinical. No drama, no speculation, just facts. And then it was over. There was no discussion, no second segment, no reaction. The program moved on like nothing had happened. Disturbed, Muchler acted. He called KTUU directly, asking for a copy of the segment or its producer. But no one knew what he meant. No tape, no segment. No one on staff recalled anything unusual. Still determined, he contacted the U.S. Geological Survey headquarters in Reston, Virginia, seeking answers from a seismologist. Again, nothing. No anomaly in the official records. No seismic data. No documentation of the broadcast. Within 48 hours, Muchler followed up with greater urgency, but the responses became colder and more hostile. One official warned him directly, "Don't pursue this." Another said, "For your own good, stop asking questions." It was as if the segment never existed. Over time, the Black Pyramid broadcast faded, becoming a whispered legend, an urban myth wrapped in static. There was no footage, no transcript, no anchor's name, just rumors, memories, and one missing red triangle. Muchler left the military in the mid-1990s, but kept searching for others who might have seen it too. A few came forward. Most did not. Some doubted it ever aired. Others weren't so sure anymore. But to believers, the real evidence wasn't the story. It was the eerie and abrupt silence that followed. If nothing aired indeed, why did the officials act like something dangerous had been accidentally revealed and needed to be covered up? Then, years later, more puzzle pieces emerged. Strange old testimonies surfaced that suddenly fit together in disturbing new ways. One such account came from Marty Johnston, a retired civil and electrical engineer from the atomic age boom. In the 1950s, Marty worked on government infrastructure contracts tied to top-secret military and energy projects nationwide. For decades, he remained silent, bound by classified oaths and unsure of what he witnessed. By the early 2000s, declassified documents and online pyramid rumors emerged, prompting Marty to finally speak up. He recalled a 1959 assignment under a defense contractor affiliated with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Marty was sent to audit a classified construction project deep in central Alaska near the Denali Range. He and several civilian contractors arrived via a military C-47 transport plane at a windswept, unmarked Alaskan airstrip. For the final leg, they were blindfolded, a chilling sign. This wasn't an ordinary government installation. They were driven to what looked like an abandoned quarry, surrounded by fencing, dirt mounds, and floodlights. A reinforced steel door sat hidden beneath camouflage netting, guarded and silent beneath Alaska's cold wilderness sky. Inside was a freight elevator, industrial and narrow, built from military-grade steel for heavy subterranean transport. The descent lasted nearly 15 minutes, long enough, Marty calculated, to reach depths over 3,000 feet. That depth exceeded any known mine shaft in the continental United States at the time. When the doors opened, Marty stepped into a sealed underground chamber, dry, soundless, and artificially maintained. The space was temperature-controlled. Ventilation systems hummed softly. Fluorescent tubes lit up smooth, carved stone all around him. The chamber was enormous, about 600 feet wide, more than 150 feet tall, he recalled. A hollowed cathedral of rock. At its center stood a structure unlike anything Marty had seen. A massive black pyramid, towering and silent. He described it as impossibly smooth, like volcanic basalt, but with no seams, joints, etchings, or visible construction marks. Each triangular face of the pyramid met at a razor-sharp apex, geometrically perfect, unnaturally pristine in form. Around the base, scientists and military techs worked methodically, monitoring devices, unspooling reels, recording data in silence. Some wore lab coats. Others seemed like linguists or cryptographers, sketching symbols and calibrating unfamiliar frequency instruments. One scientist confided in Marty. The pyramid wasn't electrical. It operated on harmonic resonance or low-frequency fields. Marty didn't grasp the theory, but he noticed how devices behaved strangely near the structure's edges. Flashlights flickered and dimmed. Radios emitted static. Analog meters twitched erratically, unable to stabilize near the black surface. He remained underground for 3 days, conducting environmental assessments and recording thermal data from chamber walls. No one explained the object. They only said it was found during a standard military geological survey. And what they told him, quietly and without debate, stuck in his mind forever. It isn't ours. Before departure, Marty signed a non-disclosure agreement. He was told the facility didn't exist and never did. He kept that silence for decades, burdened with the memory, uncertain anyone would believe what he saw. But in his final years, Marty spoke. He believed the public had a right to know the truth, because he said, the reality of the pyramid changes everything. In 2012, another testimony surfaced, Bruce Pearson's retelling of his father's first-hand account. Bruce's father, Lee Pearson, had served in U.S. military intelligence during the Cold War, a career officer with clearance. In 1978, he was assigned to a reconnaissance unit, surveying Cold War infrastructure vulnerabilities across North America. One mission stood out. He was flown from Elmendorf Air Force Base aboard a twin-engine U-21A Ute. The aircraft was commonly used for covert transport, quiet, fast, and favored for untraceable military movements. They landed on a crude airstrip carved into frozen tundra near Denali's northern boundary, far from civilization. From there, the team boarded military Land Rovers and drove through icy switchbacks for over an hour. Eventually, they reached a narrow corridor, marked by a rusted gate, keypad lock, and no signage. Past the gate, natural rock concealed an entryway, camouflaged by netting and false shadows, an optical illusion. What lay beyond was no ordinary cave. The tunnel sloped downward into the earth at a steep angle. It stretched over half a mile, dimly lit by flickering sodium vapor lamps and lined with exposed pipes. The air was metallic, bitterly cold, and unnaturally dry, like walking through a mechanical crypt beneath the earth. They passed 4 security checkpoints underground, each manned by silent guards with no visible insignia or rank. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber of hollowed-out rock, 400 feet across and 200 feet high, he estimated. And just like Marty 2 decades prior, Lee allegedly also witnessed a monolithic black pyramid standing in the center, sharp, symmetrical, partially fused with the surrounding mountain stone. There was no briefing, no explanation, just the structure, the silence, and a heavy feeling of uncertainty. And then, the sound, or rather, the absence of it. A low-frequency hum felt inside the chest. It was like standing beside a massive transformer, silent to the ear, but heavy on the rib cage. Nearby, compasses spun uncontrollably. Radios hissed and cracked. The air itself buzzed with invisible pressure and vibration. The team wasn't allowed to take notes, ask questions, or document what they saw. No one spoke. The entire encounter lasted under 30 minutes. Then they were escorted out and flown away in silence. Within 24 hours, his father's assignment was canceled, replaced with a quiet posting in New Jersey. He never heard about the site again. No records, no debrief, no mention in any official file. For years, he said nothing, afraid of reprisal, or worse, of not being believed at all. But as Bruce grew older and asked questions, fragments of the story began to leak through. On his deathbed in 2001, weakened by cancer, Bruce's father finally shared what he'd always believed to be true. "We didn't build it," he whispered. "I don't think we could have. It was already there when we found it. And someone, or something, doesn't want us to understand it." Then he looked Bruce in the eye and said, "Some secrets don't stay buried because of nature. They stay buried because something wants them to." With that, he passed, taking most of the story with him, leaving only a riddle in its place. Bruce kept it quiet for years, unsure what to believe, unsure if anyone would ever listen. But when Black Pyramid rumors resurfaced in the 2010s, he decided it was time to speak out. If true, these testimonies suggested the pyramid wasn't newly discovered in 1992. Its unearthing may date back decades. They implied authorities had known about it far earlier, secretly studying the buried colossus across multiple generations. A turning point came in 2012 when journalist Linda Moulton Howe launched an investigation into the mystery. Known for UFO research, Howe pursued new leads, determined to pull the Black Pyramid back into daylight. She tracked down witnesses, sifted archives, and examined forgotten details left behind in classified or overlooked records. Howe interviewed Doug Muchler, Bruce Pearson, contacts tied to Marty Johnston, and others who had stayed silent. With their accounts, she constructed a timeline, one spanning decades of buried evidence, secrecy, and strange encounters. The long-buried Alaskan enigma re-emerged, now backed by stories, sketches, rumors, and unexplained data points from the past. Suddenly, the Black Pyramid was no longer a fading rumor. It became a living topic once again. Late-night radio hosts, internet forums, and podcasts seized the mystery, fueling new speculation and public interest. And as the buzz grew louder, more testimonies began surfacing, voices that had once remained in the dark. One intriguing account came from a retired Navy captain who spoke anonymously on late-night paranormal radio. The guest identified only as a former U.S. Navy captain with 20-plus years in communications and electronic warfare. He claimed that in the early 1980s, he was stationed at a classified radar facility in central Alaska. The base was hidden in rugged mountains, about 120 kilometers northeast of Denali. His job involved overseeing synthetic aperture radar and long-range telemetry tracking Soviet ICBM activity across the Arctic corridor. But the strangest signals didn't come from Russia. They came from directly beneath the Alaskan tundra. For years, their radar and communications equipment experienced intermittent low-frequency interference with no identifiable external cause. Signals distorted without warning, bearings jittered, secure communications dropped into static across encrypted Navy bands. The anomaly didn't resemble solar flares or ionospheric bounce. It was irregular, repeating, and distinctly localized. His team repeatedly traced the disruption to a fixed subterranean zone, roughly 10 square miles in total area. The coordinates centered around 63.3 degrees north, 150.5 degrees west, just northwest of Denali, an uninhabited frozen wilderness. They tried shielding equipment, adjusting frequencies, and even disabling radar dishes. But nothing stopped the signal. The pulse kept returning, indifferent to their tech, as if it operated independently of external conditions. The captain described the phenomenon as an unseen transformer, electromagnetic energy that hummed but never peaked. "You could feel it," he said, No spike, just presence, like voltage bleeding from thin air. Base technicians informally dubbed it the pulse beneath the mountain, but had no consensus on what caused it. Some guessed geothermal activity, a magma chamber, or tectonic fault. But the pattern didn't match. The Navy captain was unconvinced. It felt too precise, too mechanical. It didn't behave like geology at all. Years later, when he heard rumors of a buried pyramid near the same coordinates, everything clicked. The pattern made sense. He'd always suspected the signal was artificial, massive, powered, hidden beneath the ice. He identified the anomaly as a persistent ULF signal, ultra-low frequency, between 0.1 and 3 Hertz. That's far below human hearing, but strong enough to interfere with submarines and deep-sea detection systems. When he once raised the issue in a report, he was pulled aside and warned, bluntly. A superior officer leaned in and told him, "You didn't detect anything. You're not writing anything. If you keep asking questions, I'll ensure you're brought up for insubordination under Article 88. That was the end of it. He never mentioned it again, not until years after retiring. He eventually shared the story, not for fame, but because, in his words, it's not staying quiet. There's something under Alaska, he said, and whatever it is, we were never meant to find it. But not all Black Pyramid investigations relied on seismic anomalies, radar scans, or military eyewitness testimony. As leads dried up during the 2010s, some investigators turned to less conventional tools, like remote viewing. Remote viewing is an alleged technique of gathering intel by training people to visualize distant targets using only the mind. It emerged during the Cold War, funded by CIA and DIA programs, like the infamous Project Stargate. From 1972 to 1995, the US government spent over $20 million researching psychic espionage and non-local perception. Though officially shut down in 1995, civilian researchers, fringe scientists, and ex-intelligence officers kept the practice alive. When Black Pyramid reports resurfaced online, several anonymous remote viewers were asked by investigators to scan the region near Denali. Some were given coordinates. Others received only the phrase, "ancient structure, buried beneath Alaska." Despite differences in geography, timing, and technique, the remote viewing results were astonishingly consistent. Over a dozen viewing transcripts, still accessible online, describe a vast underground facility beneath Alaskan tundra. Descriptions included tunnel networks, vaulted chambers, and a central structure, a dark, smooth, pyramidal monolith beneath the ice. The pyramid was often described as black and polished, its surface likened to obsidian or melted glass. Many viewers reported sensing a resonant pulse, a low-frequency vibration they didn't hear, but physically felt. One viewer drew a diagram, the pyramid surrounded by energy rings, resembling torsion field schematics from fringe science. And then, the descriptions grew stranger, venturing beyond architecture into something much more unsettling. Some viewers claimed the site wasn't abandoned. They sensed movement, not just human, but other. They described tall, unfamiliar figures, humanoid, but not fully human, observers, watchers, something different. Several insisted the pyramid was active, an energy generator connected to propulsion systems of unknown aerial craft. They claimed the energy didn't use combustion, no turbines, no fuel. It moved matter without lifting it. One viewer described it simply: a dark machine under the ground, buried but breathing, not made by us. Monitored, protected. The phrase appeared more than once, even among viewers who'd never interacted. There were no coordinates, no debris, no satellite match. None of this could be confirmed or denied. And yet, every session pointed to the same region, the same geometry, the same impossible structure. Were they hallucinating a shared myth, or touching something real, just beyond the reach of instruments? For believers, it wasn't coincidence. It was convergence, another strange puzzle piece that refused to disappear. Though unverified, these accounts added fuel to the growing lore surrounding the Black Pyramid mystery. Investigators and enthusiasts continued combing through every clue, from military documents to satellite images of Alaskan wilderness. Some online sleuths noticed that satellite maps of the suspected area appeared unusually blurry or crudely patched over, consistent with the "not surveyed to date" blank spot on the 1989 Denali National Park map. They questioned whether the image issues were glitches or deliberate obfuscation to hide something below the surface. The absence of clear visual data only deepened suspicion, fueling theories that something was being actively concealed. Officially, there was nothing. FOIA requests mentioning an Alaskan pyramid returned empty or received puzzled responses. Government agencies replied with confusion or flat denials, as if no such records existed in any archive. Despite that, personal accounts continued to emerge, independently and consistently, from former military staff and contractors. Some witnesses claimed the pyramid generated enough energy to power all of Alaska, possibly even more. Others compared it to a nuclear reactor, but one without heat, waste, or any recognizable control system. On one side, tantalizing testimonies. On the other, total government silence. The mystery appeared locked in permanent stalemate. That was, until one man decided to go off-grid, into the Alaskan wild, to uncover the truth. In May 2020, 41-year-old Nathan Campbell began a solo expedition deep into Denali National Park. Nathan was a seasoned wilderness survivalist and amateur investigator from Spokane, Washington, chasing whispers of the Black Pyramid. For nearly a decade, he had researched the legend. Now, with the pandemic keeping the world at a standstill, he acted. He packed 3 months' supplies, high-calorie rations, canvas tent, solar chargers, GPS units, maps, and scientific instruments. His gear included a Geiger counter, metal detector, Garmin InReach satellite messenger linked to his wife at home. Nathan chartered a Cessna 206 bush plane out of Talkeetna and was flown to remote Carey Lake. The lake, at 63.3 degrees north, 151.1 degrees west, lies near Denali's northwest edge, isolated and almost unmapped. It's surrounded by boreal forest and jagged cliffs, with barely 3 hours of sunlight in some summer months. More than 40 miles from the nearest ranger station, it's a place reachable only by air. From above, it looked untouched, a quiet ripple in the landscape, perfect for hiding something massive. Nathan planned to stay until mid-September, scanning the terrain around the suspected anomaly using analog and digital tools. Each week, he sent satellite updates, coordinates, weather data, and field notes like "Still no signal, continuing West Ridge." Everything followed schedule, until June 14th. That day, the transmission stopped. No signal, no message, just silence. At first, his wife thought it was weather interference, common in Denali's shifting and storm-prone atmosphere. But after 4 weeks with nothing, she contacted the FAA and Denali Park Service to report him missing. Search and rescue was mobilized in early September, right when Nathan was scheduled to be picked up. Rangers arrived at Carey Lake by helicopter. What they found sent chills through the entire rescue team. Nathan's tent was collapsed, support poles broken. His cooking stove was overturned beside a cold, undisturbed fire pit. Gear was scattered, some items windblown, others unopened. A half-eaten pack of rations lay untouched on a tarp. Near the rocky shoreline, rangers found his field notebook, pages swollen from moisture but still mostly legible. Inside, scrawled in pencil and trailing off, one final note: went to get water. That was it. No footprints, no trail, no blood, no drag marks, no evidence of animal activity. Nothing showed he ever left camp. No signs of a fall, no torn gear, no clothing remnants. Over the next 10 days, drones and ranger teams searched a 12-mile radius around Carey Lake. Infrared scans were flown. Cadaver dogs combed the terrain. No trace of Nathan, alive or dead, was found. As October snow began falling, the search was called off. Denali becomes impassable by early winter. The case was closed as presumed fatality, likely exposure, accident, or disappearance due to natural causes. But mystery forums reached a darker conclusion. Nathan went looking for the Black Pyramid, and something with dark intentions stopped him from coming back. For every wild Black Pyramid claim, there's a sobering counterpoint, a rational voice asking for hard evidence. Skeptics haven't been silent. In fact, they've outlined numerous contradictions that cast serious doubt on the story's legitimacy. Take the alleged 1992 television broadcast. Eyewitnesses swear they saw a newscast about a buried pyramid. But KTUU, the Anchorage NBC affiliate, has no record, no footage, no script, no logs, nothing archived. Station officials call the claim entirely unsubstantiated, suggesting the memory may be conflated or fabricated altogether, and perhaps that is the truth. Then there's the Chinese nuclear test, often cited as the moment the Black Pyramid was discovered. Though the seismic wave did reach North America, USGS analysts said it struck Earth's inner core boundary. That's over 3,000 kilometers deep, not under Denali. It was labeled a deep mantle reflection, not a structure. In geophysics, that's a known phenomenon, rare but natural, not evidence of a massive subterranean monolith. Critics also question the timeline. If military personnel accessed the site in the 50s or 70s, why would seismic data in 1992 be interpreted as a new discovery? And why leak it via local news? Wouldn't a military-level find remain classified, not casually mentioned in a 2-minute evening segment? Dr. Ryan Sherwood, a geophysicist and known debunker, calls the Black Pyramid a perfect storm of conspiracy tropes. You've got secret bases, vanishing broadcasts, Cold War intrigue, and anonymous insiders. It reads more like fiction, he said. He told Skeptic Weekly in 2018, "This isn't a field report. It's a screenplay with shadowy characters. Even the few online pyramid photos have collapsed under scrutiny, many shown to be stock or AI generated. Some had shadows artificially inserted. Others used early diffusion models to create composites with no verifiable location or scale. And most importantly, no physical proof has ever surfaced. No samples, no readings, nothing material. Furthermore, almost all witnesses come from intelligence or military backgrounds, environments steeped in secrecy and classified protocols. Skeptics say that could create an echo chamber, or worse, the stories could be part of an intentional disinformation operation to misdirect the public from another unknown motive. And as for the stranger claims, remote viewing, non-human engineers, skeptics write it off as pure fantasy. Even believers admit, without tangible proof, the accounts remain unverifiable, lingering in a twilight between myth and data. Perhaps the Black Pyramid really is just a fusion of misread seismic data, Cold War ghost stories, and algorithm-driven online myth-making. But let's say for a moment that that isn't the case, and this subterranean megalith is real. What purpose would such a structure serve? And more importantly, who or what built it? Some theorists believe the Black Pyramid was constructed by an advanced prehistoric civilization over 12,000 years ago. This would place it during the Younger Dryas, an era predating Egypt, Sumer, and the Indus Valley. If true, it belongs to the same speculative epoch as Göbekli Tepe, dated to 9600 BCE. Its alleged energy output points toward a potentially lost technology that surpasses anything we have today. A power hub that possibly operates on principles of electromagnetism, harmonic resonance, and low-frequency fields that are not as understood today. Even Giza's pyramid fascinated scientists with its use of high dielectric materials like granite and limestone in its construction, materials used in modern electromagnetic engineering. In 2018, Russian scientists found the Great Pyramid could focus electromagnetic energy under specific resonant conditions. Could the Black Pyramid, if real, serve a similar or perhaps even more advanced function? Some believe it's part of a global energy grid spanning the Earth's surface. This theoretical lattice includes ancient sites like Stonehenge, Angkor Wat, Baalbek, and Teotihuacan. Many of these align with Earth's supposed ley lines, energetic pathways mapped through sacred and mysterious geometry. Reported coordinates for the Black Pyramid place it near 63.3 degrees north and 152 degrees west, deep in Alaska. This spot is near the geophysical center of the Northern Hemisphere's landmass, possibly not a coincidence. Some believe it was chosen intentionally to interface with Earth's magnetic field or underground telluric energy flows. And this isn't just mysticism. Real science has measured magnetic anomalies in that region of Alaska. Studies have recorded disruptions linked to auroral bands, polar vortices, and ionospheric shifts over the Denali Range. Could these natural forces be shaped, focused, or harnessed by something massive beneath the surface? If so, the Black Pyramid might not be a myth. It might be a relic, or an active relic, built by a civilization that knew about an alternate energy source. Other theorists believe the pyramid isn't human at all, not ancient, not terrestrial, but something else entirely. Remember the tall, humanoid beings supposedly seen operating the pyramid during the remote viewing sessions from the 2010s. Alaska's First Nations have passed down stories for centuries that echo these same haunting images. The Tlingit people speak of Kushtaka, shapeshifters that lure people from rivers, then vanish into the deep forest. In some legends, Kushtaka emerge from hollow mountains, places that rumble at night, hiding glowing corridors within. Other stories tell of sleeping mountains, glowing faintly, vibrating subtly, as if alert, but waiting. The Athabascans speak of underground realms, caverns of radiant light where ancestral spirits walk beneath the earth. Elders warned against specific ridgelines, places where the earth still breathes, and humans should not linger long. Inuit traditions whisper of Isitok, a vengeful, all-seeing being, flying in circular craft above the clouds. Isitok punishes those who violate sacred law, arriving with glowing arcs, reversed shooting stars, and strange static in the sky. Even petroglyphs, etched into Alaskan and Yukon stone, depict elongated figures with radiant beams from their heads. Some of these carvings are over 2,000 years old, predating Western contact by millennia. To believers, these aren't disconnected myths. They're cultural fragments describing the same intelligent beings across time and language. Could they be extraterrestrials, ancient non-human earthlings, or interdimensional entities dwelling in a realm just beyond perception? The truth remains elusive. But if the legends align, the Black Pyramid might be technology beyond our species' understanding. Whether the Black Pyramid exists or not, its story has become more than just a conspiracy theory. It's a modern myth, a symbol of knowledge just out of reach, hidden behind veils of silence. It speaks to something ancient within us, our deep hunger for mystery, wonder, and forgotten truths, a yearning to glimpse what lies just beyond the well-lit borders of what we call the known. Beneath every theory rests the same quiet hope that the world still holds undiscovered, extraordinary secrets, that our past, and maybe our universe, is stranger, wider, and more unfinished than we've been told. For some, like Nathan Campbell, that silence wasn't a wall. It was an invitation into myth, a final pilgrimage towards something vast, not proven, not safe, but too dangerously compelling to ignore. And maybe that's what this place really is. Not a secret to solve, but a lesson to remind us that perhaps some things are meant to remain beyond the limits of our understanding.